Anyway, and then what we'll do is we'll
mute.
No, we're muting Mike for now.
Alright, so for the benefit of those of you that are new, I see like 2 new faces. My name is Fredy Padovan. I am Executive Director for Advancement in Technology at Immaculata LaSalle High School. My unique role is that I get to oversee the fundraising and the technology department, so I get to raise all the money that we spend. So it's a great position to be in. Next year I'm transitioning into the role of one of the vice principals as Dean for Innovation. And we've been one-to-one iPad for 3 years now. And also for 3 years we've been an Apple Distinguished Program. And so today the theme is just diving straight in, no video intro because too many of you are familiar with it. But we're going to go right into Nearpod. So I'm going to have you be students first while I explain what it is. How many of you have used it before? Heavily, or you just kind of dabbled in it?
Several times.
Okay, good. Have you seen it recently with the new features for the, or you're on the free account or the paid account?
Right.
Okay, good. So then there will be some new things for you here. So if you could please, if you have the app, go ahead and launch it, and there's going to be an orange square that's going to ask you for a PIN. Drop in the PIN right down below. And then for you computer users, go to nearpod.com, and on the top right hand of the screen, there'll be a section to join session. And as you sign into the session, go ahead and enter your name. If you want to be someone else, you can. It's okay. Clearly not being graded. Promise. No student ID is necessary, no email. Just go ahead and log right in. All right, I'm going to write the, actually I don't need to write the PIN. So if you do need the PIN, it's on the top left-hand corner of my iPad screen up there. And so you'll notice that if you're signing in successfully, you're going to see your name. If you don't, then you're going to go ahead and you'll see it in red. It just means that you're still in the loading area. But if you did it correctly, then you can go ahead and wait. It's very polite. It says thank you. There's 9 of us. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay. Is somebody not joining so I know that I'm not waiting for it? Oh, okay. There we go. All right. So at the tip top, you see 10 in green. So it lets us know there are 10 students. Everyone in class is here. So we'll begin. Now, the best way I can describe this for those of you that are new, this is like a PowerPoint on steroids. Because you take all of your existing presentations, and you can upload them and then drop interactive slides inside them. So what I've done here is I've created basic slides, and then I dropped in the interactive so we can go through pretty much all of the ones that I would consider are K-12 appropriate. Some of them are more high school appropriate than elementary, but like a Twitter feed or things like that. But anyway, let's go through these and explore some of the interactive slides. So what you're going to see here is the teachers, what you would see as a teacher. You would never airplay this, you'd never show it to the students, and you'll see why as we go along the presentation. This is for you to see only, but I wanted you to get the experience of what a student sees versus what a teacher sees. So the first one is going to be a polling slide. Ask a question to the whole class and get feedback. So go ahead and take a look at this question. Now, if you notice the image of the whale up top on your screen, if you tap on it or you click on it on your computer, it's going to go full screen. So if you want to ask a question and you need to give them a detailed map or anything like that, they can zoom in and do that. Now, as students start to respond, you have the pie chart that tells you the percentage of no answers and percentages of who's answered which question, and you start to see the dots next to the names. Okay, and I can scroll through and see them. So once I hit everyone answering, or just about there, then I can go ahead and hit the share button. So when I hit the share button, all of you are going to get the results of the entire class. And at the bottom where it says my answers, you can scroll up and actually see what you responded if you forgot.
But the kids, they won't see the name of the person who responded.
Exactly.
It protects
So
the anonymity.
that's exactly why you don't want to display this, because as we go through some of these activities, and some of the other slides, you'll see where your names are not going to show up when I share it with all of you on your screen. So the next one is a slideshow. Now, this was a newer feature. It's old now, but it wasn't part of the original feature set. And part of the feedback from the teachers was, I'm controlling this. You can't slide forward or back. But in some things like science or in some multi-step process, we wanted to be able to do that. So the slideshow feature allows you to put multiple images or multiple slides that the students can navigate through independently. So go ahead now with the pictures that load, and if you're on the iPad, you can scroll up and down. And if you're on the computer, you can scroll with your mouse. But you can go through and see the 3 images that I placed in here. There's something creepy yet cute about this. I was presenting in Texas, not Florida, which is why we have armadillos and possums and bats. All right, so that's another example there. Now we have the open-ended question. So we have the short paragraph responses. So here's a question for you that'll appear on your screen. Go ahead and type in an answer. If you want to be serious, you can. If you want to be silly, be my guest. And so the whole time, again, you see a percentage of the class that hasn't answered the percentage it has. So oftentimes I run into a lot of teachers that don't necessarily wait for 100% to happen. They just kind of say, okay, you have 60 seconds to respond, and students that are on task can do that within a certain amount of time. And then afterward, in the reporting, they can actually see how the student participated throughout all of the interactives. That's a great answer. So you notice that on my screen, I can see the people's names and as I scroll through them. So you obviously do not want, again, to project this for that reason. So if you're in the middle of typing and I've said, okay, time's up and I want to start discussion, I can hit share, and now you see the person's response, but what's missing there is their name, right? And you'll see that the common theme whenever you're sharing a student's work. And as I just keep hitting share, those are going to update for you on your screen as well.
This would be great for, questions at the beginning of a unit.
Exactly.
This goes right along with Alan November's anonymity. The ability for a kid to ask a question without your self-esteem coming into play, or the lack of confidence or embarrassment or whatever.
Yeah, and I think oftentimes in class discussion, and of course it depends on the scenario, but it's always nice to know that you're not going to get called upon and get the right and the wrong answer, and then everyone points and laughs, because that never happens. So my trauma comes from math back in middle school. I had a 7th grade teacher that hopefully that she never sees that. But I have a 7th grade math teacher that never really let me see math the way I should have. And so I always grew up with a trauma against it. And part of it was exactly that they'd say, okay, come up to the board and show us what you think the answer is. And I would 9 out of 10 times get it wrong, because I just thought through the process differently. And I would always get it wrong because I never followed the steps that the book told me. I'd get to the right answer, but I never followed the steps that I was being taught. So being able to have students write on a whiteboard or on a picture is a great tool with the Drive. So go ahead now and do some basic algebra. Solve for x, and if you need if you're on a computer, if you need the directions, there's a little pencil tool that appears in the top left-hand corner. That'll open the question again. So as you all are drawing, as you submit, you'll see that they'll start to appear for me. I'm used to just a bunch of happy faces. That's about it. That's the one advantage that I found of having to teach iPad across multiple subjects. I have to reteach myself things that I didn't remember.
Look how different we did it.
So as you go through now, we're captured the images. And then, good, you discovered that you could write in different colors. You can erase, you can actually insert pictures. So sometimes the answer might be search and drop in an image. You can actually insert those from your camera roll or from something you search on the web. So again, if I want to share this out, And then now all of your screens will load the same image, but you'll notice again that the name is missing. Now, in a typical scenario, usually the next slide would be the answer marked out so that the students can see that visually. But in this case, I'm going to switch to another draw example. So here's a map of the United States. So if you want to go ahead and just draw a star where Washington, D.C. is located. And go ahead and submit. Oh, just roughly where you think it is. That's the whole point of this.
Now I'm taking my star. It's tacky.
That's fine.
All right. So again, I could very easily look through these.
Central Texas. Perfect watch.
You know, when I did this in Texas, I got a lot of those. So yeah, this is one of those that I wouldn't necessarily just discuss the answer, but instead I just slide, and now the next image would be the answer. So one of the other neat things about Nearpod is it does keep track of this. Yeah, there was a reason there. It shows you the number of students that are in the session, and so I can actually tap on it and see everyone if I want to go through it. But now when it goes red, it means that a student has decided to go off task, go to another website, go to another app. They're not focused on there. So when I tap on here, I can see that Kristen is now off the presentation. So if you go back into the presentation, as soon as she goes back in, there you go, it went green right away. So it takes about 10-15 seconds for Nearpod to ping the internet and say, hey, this device is not checking in anymore. And that's one of the beauty parts about Nearpod is that right now, only time we're using the bandwidth of this school is every 15-20 seconds. A very, 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 very small file size gets sent up to check in and sent back down to check in. That's it. All these images are already pre-downloaded on your device because that's what the presentation does at the beginning. If it's a 20 megabyte presentation full of video and audio, which you can put in here, self-contained, it will download first, and then when you trigger the slide, it will start to play. And that's a problem because everyone's iPads or devices will trigger at a different time. So if you show a video, you're going to hear a wave. It's always one side of the room starts, and then it's this lag of like 5 seconds across the thing. It's super annoying. So of course you would need headphones if you're doing video or audio. But that's just really neat that you don't, if you have low bandwidth at your school, then usually what I've seen done is they'll put the pin up at the beginning of class with the objective. They'll leave it downloading, they'll do some bell work, and then 5 minutes later, most cases, everything is downloaded and the teacher can just start with the lesson. So that's kind of neat there. All right, so fill in the blank, insert a body of text, and remove keywords and have students drop them in. So here's a nice little elementary poem for you. Now, of course, again, see if you're projecting it, they would know where it goes. So go ahead and drag and drop the words where you think the order it's supposed to go. And so when you get them right or wrong, it'll tell you how you did. I took something very basic, but I've dropped in the entire preamble to the Constitution, and that fit in without a problem. So you can do a lot with it. And then we have matching pairs, so create photos in Word matching games. So go ahead and take a stab at that when it loads. That's the sound of productivity, by the way. That's what it sounds like. All right, I'm gonna keep going there. So quiz and test. Create multiple choice and true and false assessments. So you're gonna take the very difficult common sense test. Good luck. As you start to enter the assessment, I do want to point out here that on the screen, we're going to start seeing the gray squares appear. You can actually see in real time where your students are, in which question, and if it goes green, they got it right, and if it goes red, they got it wrong. So you can see that before they even finish the assessment. And then, of course, the data that you're getting is letting you know the overall percentage of and the overall percentage of wrong answers. And so this is nice because the students still don't know how they did, which is very important because if you see, uh-oh, something's wrong here with question 3, did I make a mistake? Now they don't have the stress of knowing I got this score, which they really didn't get. But in reality, I actually didn't do anything wrong. I'm going to hit share, and now instead of like with the survey where it was a general pool of responses, you're actually getting your individualized results, and you can swipe up on the bottom where it says my answers. If you're on the iPad or if you're on a computer, you can scroll and actually review what you got right and wrong. And so one of the neat things about Nearpod when you're in the testing mode is that it's not about A, B, C, or D. It can be A and C, A and D. So there's actually 2 right answers to that question, because the square root of 4 is 2, and 1 plus 1 equals 2, and 2 was another answer as well. So I know, I was not clear on the directions. I can see some of the desk stairs. I get it all the time. But I've never had someone actually get it right yet, because we're so trained that computerized testing is one answer choice only. So that's really neat that they can do that here. And you notice that there were images also embedded into these questions, so you can bring in images as well. When you're creating these assessments, they've integrated with YouTube, with Google Images, so a lot of when we're going to be building these in a few minutes, you're going to be able to just search in some of the features, search right there within the boxes. You don't actually have to go find the images and then download them and bring them in. So in some ways, they have kind of streamlined the process. Now, some of the tools that we've used are part of the free version. Some of the tools that we've used are part of the paid version, or the teacher/school version. They call it the gold version. So for the benefit of everyone that's wondering what's what, now this is another slide called the web share slide. So I've just sent you basically to the Nearpod website, and you can see what comes with the free version, the gold, and then if it's a school version, there is a deeper discount than just a single teacher license. One of the main differences, of course, is the storage space, but also the amount of students that can connect to your presentations. 30 on the free one, 50 on the teacher license, and up to 100 on the school license. And then another major feature is the reporting that gets pulled from this, which is actually a lot of neat data. If you wanted to take this, right, all of your results, I can export it as full color PDFs, and it will break down everything that you've answered, including all the pictures. So you can see the students' drawings and handwritten responses as well in an individualized report. Now, once you move into the paid version, then you can download the CSV file, the Excel file. So if your grade books allow for that kind of importing, then you don't have to do much by way of importing grades. Then you'll have that data as well. And then on the paid version, you get access to Nearpod homework. So what we were doing is called a live session, meaning I'm controlling it. But if you wanted to assign these for homework and then do discussions later on in class, then you would use Nearpod homework, give them the pin, and then they can do this at home. Okay? It does work on any platform. They do have the Windows 8, the iPad, and the Google version of the apps. But at nearpod.com, like those of you with computers did, then you can access this without a problem. The feature of the students checking in, it works fastest when it's running through the native apps through a tablet. On a computer, it takes a little bit longer and sometimes gets a little glitchy. So tablets, of course, are best when you're trying to monitor the students that way. When you move into a teacher, well, into the school license, you get a shared library. So you can actually create, co-create presentations together, share them with each other, and do it that way, which is always neat. And then, of course, your storage space goes up in the size of your presentation. I've never seen someone get like to a 60 megabyte presentation. hasn't happened yet. One of the other neat things about having the higher student allowances, when we were first doing our iPad orientations, or when we do them at the beginning of each year, we actually do a lot of our student handbook policies and procedures and whatnot through Nearpod, and we have them buddy up because it's about 200 per class. And so now we can go through what we need to do. They put their names at the beginning of the presentation, and then we use some of the interactive features as acknowledgments that they have understood what we're telling them. And so we have that to capture on file in case parents come back and go, no, my child never heard that. Well, actually, no, here is their presentation report. So anyway, any questions so far on this before we dive into it? Good. Oh, one more thing I always forget. So when you're inside the app, or when you're presenting as a teacher, even on the web tool, you can send them to a website without having to pre-program it. So if you're in the middle of a discussion and somebody brings something up and you want to take them somewhere, then you search it yourself first, and then once you get to the website that you want to share, you push share, and the presentation gets overridden, and you move on to whatever the teacher is asking, or asking Nearpod to call up. So this is a neat feature because, of course, when you try to ask students to go to a website, the time they get there, they've either gotten lost or they've gotten off task. So you'll notice that you don't have the back and forward button. There is no, that you have the reload button, but they can't actually go anywhere outside of this area, which is another reason why you never share google.com, because then they can just go wherever they want. I guess, a couple final things here. This status bar here is neat because it actually tells you if something goes wrong with the service. It specifically tells you what is wrong with the service. If everything is red, then you know that there's something wrong with your Wi-Fi, and you just got to turn it on and off. If something's wrong with account services, content, or sync individually, then you know it's a Nearpod problem. So it makes it very easy to diagnose and troubleshoot. I have to say that in the 3 years that I've been using them, I think maybe twice I've seen any of these read that it's a Nearpod issue, not something local in our building. So they're pretty reliable when it comes to that. All right, so I'm gonna hit yes. Here we go. So just so you kind of see what the presentation looks like before I went into it, since I launched the live session, I can actually exit it, do something else in Nearpod, and come back and resume it without losing my place. Now, if I were to hit live session again, it would give me a new pin, and all of that data would be stored in the report, and then I have to invite you all again. But you can resume a session. So that's also neat because if you are seeing students, if you see the same class and you have to end that day and start the next day, as long as you're not seeing a new group of students for this presentation, you can just pick up where you left off.
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Like if I've got 3 sections of the same class, so I've got 30 kids in each class, do I have to make a separate?
No, you just, you end the session, hit live session again for the next class, give them the new pin, and then that data gets put together. And then again, third class, hit that, all the data gets put together. Each time you hit that, you end the previous session.
But if you come back the next day with those 3 classes, you have to hit live session again and start a new session with
Yes,
them.
every time, yeah. Now, the other, I guess the flip side to it is you could create 3 carbon copies of the same exact presentation and label them, whatever period or section you're doing, and that would be fine. But you definitely, if you're going to recycle the same exact presentation, every time you hit live session, everything gets consolidated, reported, and then a new group has to sign in.
Can you copy one session from the session?
They call it cloning, but yes.
Okay. All right.
Let's see. All right, now some of what you'll see on my screen as we go through this might look a little different because I'm on the paid version versus the free version. So, but I believe they've done it so that when you sign up for free for like 2 to 3 weeks, you have access to everything. And then we'll see what some of the features that I did not mention are. So let's go ahead and, if you haven't already done so, sign up for an account at nearpod.com or through the app as a teacher. If you already have an account, then just sign in, and this is roughly where you should be once you have successfully signed in. If not, I will navigate the room and get you to the right place.
right here, upgrade for free. You think I just had this for long already? Should have. I mean, I've had this since the beginning.
Oh, right, because they added a new system.
So that would just be, that's still a free version, it's just got, I should do that right.
Now, one question I've got, are there saved sessions of other teachers where you could go in, copy their stuff, edit it to meet
Yes.
your needs? That's great.
Yes, actually, before I get into creation, I'll show you the library.
Okay.
Actually, that was a good thing we just discovered over here. They've added a promotion that if you invite 5 teacher friends and 5 of them sign up for Nearpod, now they don't put, do they actually specify if it's a free or paid account they have to
It's
sign
a
up for?
free 6 months with the gold.
Okay, so then invite 5 teacher friends through the link there. They sign up for a free account, you get 6 months of the paid version for free. So that's, if you want to try it out, try it before you buy it kind of thing. But also too, I know that Nearpod does school pilots for like a few months. So if you are interested with 5 or more teachers is what it takes to get a school license. So if there are a few other people that you think that might be interested, give them a call, and they'll definitely work with you there. When we met them, we found out that they're only 20 minutes north of us, of our school. That's where their headquarters are, at least in the U.S. They're based out of Brazil and Argentina, the developers and the group itself. But it's been neat to see how far they've come in such a short amount of time. So one of the things that they do have under Explore tab, and if you want to follow along, you can, is the Nearpod library. These are all pre-done presentations by other teachers or by professional learning organizations. So like CK12 has a whole bunch of science ones now for middle and high school. You have some things from Learn Zillion, Khan Academy, or the Nearpod authors. So there are some of these that are free, others are paid, just like any content that you would buy. So whenever they're paid, it means that Nearpod themselves has vetted the content, made it visually appealing, has set a minimum criteria of interactivity. Because a lot of what we, when we first building the Nearpods, and you'll notice this for yourselves, you'll kind of put like maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 slides of information, and then maybe you'll put an interactive. And so with Nearpod, the way their designers work, it's more like 1, 2, 3 slides of information and some kind of interactive, whatever it is, and then you move on. Even if it's just a simple picture, but something to break the monotony of words on a screen, words on a screen. So if I were to, I'm going to just tap this K1 places and regions. So as I'm going through this, as you tap on them, you'll see the price on the bottom, but then it lets you see the presentation. So as you swipe through, you have all these slides, and there's always usually an estimated time of the presentation, and you can see how much interactivity there might be. And then again, these are ones that were specifically done by the Nearpod designers, the teachers created and the Nearpod designers make. But once you buy this, whether it's free or paid, and it's in your library, you can edit and do whatever you want with it. You can remove slides, add slides, change the questions being asked in the polls or the surveys, whatever it is. But you'll notice that there definitely is a lot in here. Are any of you from Catholic schools? Yes, okay. So something that we just finished doing with them, and I launched this at NCEA, we have a Catholic library now going of K through 12. Nearpod's already done for catechesis and whatnot. So what grades do you teach?
4th grade.
4th? Okay, so yeah, celebrating Jesus' life all year. We have early church history, prayers, saints, parables, things like that. So if you want to try those out, you have to identify yourself as a Catholic school teacher to get that library unlocked.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So anyway, yeah, there's a lot to search through with these, and you can go ahead and search keywords while you're in the store. And then if you want to search by tags, grade levels, or maybe like specific Nearpod authors that are on there, or if you just want to see how many are free. And there's a lot of free content out there, believe it or not. A lot of free content to look through.
Okay, on another question. So let's just say you did all this totally killer session. Can you monetize it on here?
Yes, you can become a Nearpod author. The Nearpod author program is open to all educators. What you do is it's on their website somewhere around there. And so if you have a really good presentation, and it doesn't necessarily have to look really good, but it has to be quality content, and it's highly interactive, assuming that none of it is copyright infringement, and you've cited all your sources and all that jazz, you can apply to be a Nearpod author. You send them that info, and if you're selected, then they will work with you to jazz it up, and then it goes on the store. And usually, I don't think I've ever seen, maybe some of the longer presentations are like $3, $4, but usually they're $1, $2, and $3, depending on what's actually in them. But again, you can kind of decide now when we look at it. Most of the time, I found that the average teacher, when they're new to Nearpod, it takes them about 30 minutes to go from upload to finished presentation, and then once they get better at it, then they can upload existing, as long as the existing presentation's there, the slides, then the interactivity can be done in 5–10 minutes or less if you have everything else you need to build the presentation. All right, so go ahead and hit the little home, and then we'll come back out here. So even as teachers, you can still join presentations from the teacher app, and also then you can go down here and generate your reports. So let's go ahead and hit create in the orange. And it's going to take you to the browser. So it'll exit, if you're on the iPad, it'll exit the app and take you here. And then you'll have the option to create a new presentation. So this is pretty straightforward. It drops in, every Nearpod needs at least 2 slides, so it'll just do this as placeholders for the time being. But if you do want to delete them eventually, once you have more slides, you can just tap on them and then hit delete. But let's look at our add slide button here. And you'll notice that it'll give you 3 options: add content, add web content, add activity. When it's adding content, this is more of, if you're going to create a slide or a picture slide, or you're going to drop in a PDF, it does have basic slide generating capabilities on here, but it's like what you saw when I was doing a fill in the blank those. I created them directly on here. It's very, very basic color scheme, etc. But you can put in some slides there. You also have video, audio that you can drop in. So if I tap on video, for example, you can browse YouTube and embed it directly into it. Or you can upload a video from your files. Same thing, you can drop in an audio note. This is where your slideshow was. PDF viewer. Neat thing about this, though, is if they are using something like Notability or some kind of PDF annotation tool, they can download whatever PDF you've uploaded so that they can have offline as part of your presentation. So a lot of our teachers, what they'll do is they'll build a presentation, and the final slide is a PDF version of the slides of the presentation minus the interactivity, so the students can have that for their records afterward for studying or whatever they might need it for. And then live Twitter streaming. All right.
Question.
Yes.
I went to a session yesterday about curriculate. Are you familiar with that?
No.
It's basically this, but it's specifically for literature, where it's already pre-done with preloaded questions. So as the student is reading, takes a break from the reading, asks them a question to make sure they're engaged. But it's a lot like this, except it's already done for you.
Curriculate.
Curriculate. C-U-R-R-I-C-U-L-E-T. .com.
Okay.
Some free stuff, some pay stuff.
But all centered around literature.
That's right.
I'll have to check that out. All right, so then we have web content. So this is back to, this is where you put in your website, and then it would take you on there. Now, of course, they do put the disclaimer, if the website is Flash-based, it will obviously not work on an iPad. But what's neat about this too, and what we used to use this before we were able to lock our student iPads at will into apps and things like that, we were using Nearpod because a lot of our testing was done online. So we'd drop our testing website for those of you that are here for the assessment evaluation, the Mastery Connect, the Bubble Sheet website, we drop it in here and share that slide with them through Nearpod. So if anyone left the testing site, it would go red right away, and we know that a student was cheating. So there is different things that you could use this for. It's not just for websites, but you could use it as a way to monitor cheating. If they're, again, using the tablet, it'll take about 10-15 seconds, but it's not enough time for them to complete the cheat before that goes red. Same thing if you want to send them to like a learning game, but you don't want them to navigate the web to do it, you could drop in your learning games that are HTML5 compliant and have them play through Nearpod. It's a full web browser within the app itself.
So have you yourself, have you incorporated a web-based assessment program with this?
Yes, so for in the last session, on the first session I did this morning on assessment evaluation, I was talking about Mastery Connect, and we use Mastery Connect to do multiple choice and true or false assessments. It's basically the Scantron replacement, and so they have an app, but before we could lock the students into that app, with the teachers being able to push a button happening, before we used to send them as a web share, and then we just monitor the red light if they were to ever get off it.
Do you know how compatible the slides are with smartboard slides? Like, is it easy? Is there an easy way to drag a smartboard slide into this?
As long as but the smartboards let you export as PDF or something. I'm pretty sure that you can.
Probably.
Yeah, when you open in Smart Notebook, you can save as or export, and as long as you can do it as a JPEG or a PDF, you're good. If you're a PowerPoint user, it will accept actual PowerPoint files. You don't even have to convert those; they will go right up. Or if you're one of those people that has your presentations on the iPad or it's synced to iCloud, whatever it is, you can go into Keynote on your iPad, or if you have PowerPoint as an app, and hit export open in, and open it in Nearpod. It will open this app, drop all the slides in, and you're done. So you can do it that way as well. Yeah, there's like 1,001 ways to do this. Okay, so for adding activity, pretty much I did all of these. So this was your open-ended question, poll, quiz. I'm going to just tap on quiz here for a moment so you can kind of get a sense of how this works. They added in a quick little equation editor, a very basic one, to start making math more accurate, mathematical symbols more accurate. But you'll see here on the questions, you can enter the title for the quiz, enter the question, and then select one or more right answers, and then keep entering more questions or more answer choices as you go through. People are on the fence here. I have some teachers that love creating it on their iPads. Others say, no, I'd much rather do it on a computer. So it really just depends. I guess one of the neat things about this goes back to the whole concept of being on the cloud. You can start on your computer, or you can start on your iPad, and if something dies, something crashes, you left one behind, you can always log in anywhere and just keep going. Because all of this is being saved in real time, so there's no real save button that you need to worry about, which is always nice. All right, so here is I'm gonna give about 5 to 7 minutes here, but go ahead and try out. Just put in 3 different types of slides, whether you want to put in a regular content slide or you want to do a slideshow, drop in a website, but just drop in 3 slides into your presentation right now. And then we'll have you try it out between pairs here so you can see what the full process looks like, and then we'll get to the reporting side of things too. And actually, I would say try to make at least one of the slides interactive, if not more. So it's 119, I'll give you like 125.
When you do the multiple choice you were just doing, and it's got enter your answer, and it's got correct answer, like kind of where you put your distraction.
So when you click, so just type in what you want as the answer choices, and then you can keep adding answers.
I know that like they're all saying correct answer, but when you unclick correction, that's why I was wondering, like,
No, it should just uncheck.
it gives me a delete the answer, but it doesn't give me like, those are all wrong answers, and this is the right answer. Okay, what did you do?
I just hit delete and re-add.
It just was
Yeah, but it shouldn't.
okay, so that's what I was wondering.
Yeah. And actually, for those of you that just signed up, you'll see the, you'll see which ones say free, so that you know which ones are part of the free and the paid version. So that is the, okay, so the drive is one of those that you need to have the image, or you just drop a blank canvas and just give it
So
a
you
question.
can't like search, I'd have to draw it, like if I need to search it first.
You would need to search it or create the slide and drop it in, because that one's a little more complicated.
So there's a limit to the size video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if you were to drop it in through YouTube, then that would just stream live and.
Right.
No, because now they're just gonna.
There's not
just
like
gonna-
presentation.
No, presentation.
Okay.